Alrighty, hello everyone, welcome to Built to Scale. This is definitely our most stacked show ever, Matty.
It's ridiculous, the docket today.
It's not our fault.
We've said before the show that we're going to do a 2-minute buzzer. If either of us are waffling on, we're going to buzz the other one out because we won't make our meetings otherwise, and people will stop listening. So it is so packed, we're just going to have to whiz through it.
Yeah. So anyone who gets bored of our deep dives, this is the show for you. Today's the one. So mate, let's get into it. So this week, one of my favorites. We've spoken about just-in-time software, but I think it may have gone too far. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do. And this was a very funny meme. I think, and we'll pull it up on the screen, but basically a guy was taking the piss and saying that his wife's water had broken. And he, then she says to him, I'm going to download an app to time my contractions. And he goes, whoa, this is 2025. You're not downloading an app. It's just-in-time software. We're going to vibe code it. He pulls it up and we vibe coded the app, which I think just like it hits home in a very funny way at how real that is, that you could probably do that. But yeah, hilarious.
I think if I remember my wife's water's breaking, and if I think I had said, hold on, I'm going to vibe code an app. You get ready. I'm going to vibe code a contraction app. That might have been a really rough start to the whole process. Not as rough as the couch they put you on, as the partner. But you know, it's a rough ride for everyone in the giving birth space. But, also, mate, two married men. What could go wrong with us talking about vibe coding an app during waters breaking, and then second, talking about the dating app Hinge? Now, I am really hoping the Dales aren't listening this week, but you've shared something with me around as tech founders, which we both are. You've shared something this week about. Is there a use for the tech founder in the dating app Hinge?
Yeah. So I have been trying to set up a marketing division over in the US at the moment. So I've kind of been in this space looking at what platforms we're going to be using, things like TikTok. And I saw this thing come across my X feed, and I'm just going to read it word for word because it's hilarious. A guy goes, if you're not using Hinge to source college girls for TikToks in 2025, you are not going to make it. I have an entire funnel set up to go from match to posted content in less than 3 days. And then in the TikTok, he just goes, in the Hinge chat. And for those who are boomers like us, Hinge is a dating app, like the replacement for Tinder, that everyone's using. Are you interested in getting paid to make TikToks for my startup? She goes, thanks. Tell me more. Basically, we make viral apps, and now next one is a makeup app. We could pay you, and then I'd open the full thing up so you can actually see. And it goes, is that why you matched with me? You needed a cute girl to promote your makeup app? I'm so down. Which is just, if this is actually happening, that is genius. He's spending a few $100s to get viral TikToks up, and, whatever it takes to get distribution, I say.
Well, I think that's a use case for a Lindy agent for me and you, because I'm not sure I can physically download the app. I'm not sure that would just get busted.
Too risky.
That's just not happening in my house, me downloading Hinge. So, the Lindy app, you can get a little B2S login, and then maybe we could let the agent select, swipe left or whatever it is, and select some potential distribution partners.
It reminds me of, and I know we're meant to be keeping this short, we're not doing a good job, but of a meme I saw a while ago of, it was like a thing of meat that was spinning around on a drill, and it was slapping a phone and just swiping right on Tinders. Like we could make the agentic version of that, swiping right on the right people. I don't even know if you swipe in Hinge, but connecting with the right people and going and using that as distribution to find your next marketing influencers.
As long as you and I don't have a login, we're safe. So maybe our star producer could set up the account and program the agent. Speaking of people who might be getting themselves in trouble, our man Elon has had a weird week. He started the week obsessing over sort of anime softcore porn as the chief use of his thousands of GPUs and AGI. And literally to a point where he just kept posting. It was so weird. And even his like most adept followers were like, please stop doing this. You and I shared it and we're like, like the world's going to end. If this guy is our like shining ray of hope, if he doesn't get off this, we're in trouble. The Tesla share price went down by 10 billion in market cap. And then I think just to add to him, he's just messing with us all. He then was like, oh, Grok 5 is the first AGI moment. And I'm going to create a company called Macro Hard, which is the opposite of Microsoft, because given that they have no physical hardware, we believe that we can just completely replace them with AI. So he's then saying we're going to take over a $1 to $2 trillion company. Anyway, share price went back up. Everything's okay. So is he just messing with us at this point?
Yeah, and I guess he always has done this. Like, he's always been a bit of a troll on Twitter before it was X and before he owned it. And he's always got himself in hot water for saying the wrong things. He's been almost kicked out of his own companies and he just can't help himself. So I think my view is if you've got someone so autistically good at things like building rocket ships and trying to take us to Mars and Tesla, you've got to take the wins with the losses, and he's got some areas he needs to work on, and it's just about whether we can accept that as a society, that Elon's out there posting softcore porn images on that he's created through his own app, or is he going to get us to a better future? And so it's maybe we just have to take the wins with the losses here.
I don't know. I just think an intervention. I think his brother Kimball is pretty close to him. I reckon he should just be banned from posting softcore anime porn on for the good of humanity. Oh wow, we should have. I just realized because the next subject is back to the dials as well. So look, our two lovely, beautiful wives don't listen to the first 5 minutes of this show. I don't think they'll listen anyway, but if they are, just skip the first 5 minutes because the next one is another fantastic funny. Someone's posted that prenups for marriages should have a vesting schedule and a cliff, just like co-founder equity. 50% ownership from day one is insane. Just made me think. Because I'm stuck in the middle. We're doing a full employee share scheme at the moment, and it's so complex. I didn't realize, especially in Australia, sounds like you might be getting ahead. Let's just cut that out. So I'm trying to understand employee liability, good levers, bad levers. It's just a maze. And this just made me think. But then when you get married, like you don't even contemplate it. It's just, you're on. Day one.
You're right. Well, I actually think we should keep this because I certainly walked into my marriage with far less assets than my wife. So I think we should cut this part of the show, and I'm pro prenup, just like I'm pro Trump, pro prenup.
That's called marrying well. Well done. Mate, we had your man, Reid Hoffman, who I'm less of a fan. He just seems to he's hyper political, massive lefty. But he's done some obviously very good things early days. He's done LinkedIn. Was he early in Facebook as well? Oh, he was PayPal.
It was PayPal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
PayPal into LinkedIn, very basically big part of the social media revolution. But this week he said 10,000 prompts is the new 10,000 hours. And I think that's really intelligent and thoughtful and, just a great viral post, from yesterday, because I mean, I'm even looking at, as part of our weekly wraps, we like everyone in the business to have a weekly sort of cadence of accountability. And one of the things I'm asking for now is like, what was your best prompt? And just share it with the team and what was the best results? Because I mean, so much of what we're doing through the world of agents and LLMs now is going to be built around, excellent prompting.
Yeah. It's still putting the hours in a sense. Like you're still learning via prompting now. And I think that's why the quote makes sense, rather than going and reading a book and doing the reps and learning how to code. Your prompting is the new muscle building when it comes to building intelligence or building knowledge. So yeah, it's certainly a new world.
Yeah, I get prompt guilt. So when I realize that I've been stuck at the moment, we're replacing the finance role in our business, and I think it might actually kill me. And like the accountant type space. And just being involved in it is really frustrating. And then I get all this guilt about what I'm not doing and what I should be doing. Or I'll get a subscription bill from like Manus, and I realize I haven't used it for a month. And this thing does so much. It's so handy. And I just realized I've not used this for a month. I'm busy doing all these mundane, dumb tasks. And I just get a bit of prompt guilt. So I think everyone should be looking at least, if they're not prompting every day, you're just not leveraging the tools and, not having a crack, I reckon.
Yeah. I wonder, maybe a good idea for a vibe coded side project would be something that actually has a dashboard and showing you like your prompt utilization. Like, you're paying for all these tools. Here's how much you're leaving on the table. Because I think a similar thing when I go to bed at night. I'm like, I could have AIs working for me overnight. Like, if I haven't kicked off an agent to do something for me overnight, I'm going backwards. So I think it's an interesting train of thought around how much time are we wasting by not getting AIs working on things in the background while we're doing other things?
Yeah, productivity guilt is going to be a real thing. And we already have, people waking up and checking X straight away, checking their Slack. I think it's about to get way worse because we're going to be expecting you to be in control of 24-hour workforces. So anyway, keep an eye out for prompt guilt. And I like that dashboard one. Let's put it down as another thing that you and I won't get done, but would like to get done. But in more positive news, mate, we have been talking about the velocity of DJI and their drone carrying weights. And they got themselves up to 80 kilos, which they were impressed by. And in fairness, in China, that's going to get a good percent of the population from A to B. But we said that unless you and I go deep on Ozempic, where we need the technology revolution to continue. But this week, my guys out at UniTree, they have their dog that can carry 215 kilos. And naturally, it came to an image of me, and maybe our producer could put this up during the week, of you and I sitting on the dog, flying down 6th Street, Austin, on a pub crawl. And because I've seen you, I don't know if the footage is public, but on the bucking bronco, you were very talented. I think you could probably steer the dog.
We can see if the dog could buck me off. But yeah, Scotty, this video, have you ever felt bad for a robot? I found this really interesting because it looked like the dog was struggling, and I was watching. I'm like, if this was just a machine going up carrying, but I was like, oh, the poor dog, they've loaded him up with 250 kilos. He's struggling to get up the stairs. It's quite impressive, but it is interesting when you give something a form factor of a real human, like a humanoid robot, or a dog. We actually start to treat them like they're a living thing, which is really interesting.
Well, I think we should, because eventually they're going to, probably take over. So I'm a big believer.
Always be nice to the AIs.
Be nice to the AIs, especially, when Jensen fills them up with memory. I'm going to be like a pro UniTree, pro dog, look after my dog. But, still the image of you and me flying down 6th Street, Austin on the back of a dog is really exciting for me. Especially as it's an R&D spend as well. Very exciting.
Get money back on that.
Mate, we've spoken about domains, and your dirty habit, which when you did that pod and you said, I have a really dirty habit when I drink at night, it was a real moment for the pod where I went, okay, this could be the end. And then you said, my dirty habit is I buy domains. And I went, whew, thank God. And then last week I spoke about the real gold rush, the pickaxe version of the gold rush, which is the first boom in any, the first winners in any boom. And I said it was the domain name purchasing that I've gone pretty hot on that scattergun style. Can Varda on X posted, how many domains do you have? And I thought, oh, he's talking to me. And I must have 20 to 30. I got on there and it was like an AA meeting of domain addicts posting I've got 50, I've got 100. And then, as you unravel this feed on X, people then started describing which ones they have. And it was actually like an AA meeting where people supported each other. That's how cool. That's really cool. Good for you. So I think I found my community.
Yeah, I'm just reading through some of the comments now. There's some good gifs in here too. I love that he's started shaming people. Like someone's like 20 plus, he's like, whoa. Someone goes, 44, he just goes, what the f-? So he's like opened up this can of worms and has started shaming the people who are opening up to him.
Look, an domain AA is meant to be a safe space. So I might create a little community on X and just where it's a safe space. Let's talk about our names and celebrate them.
You should go and buy domainaa.com right now.
Good point.
We could build an agent, Scott, that listens to our conversations and picks up any time that there's a good domain name purchase and just automates that in the background. At the end of the show, we just get a bill for how much we've spent on domains.
That's actually kind of interesting, isn't it? So it just takes it up, does the domain shirts, find the best ones, packages it, give it our credit card, and comes back to us. I'll speak to the good gentleman at Lindy about knocking that one up for us during the week. Someone who might need to get into domain name purchasing because a bit worried about his future is Sam Altman. He's just come out this week and said, yeah, GPT-5 was a misfire, but GPT-6 is going to be a real winner. Love that from Sam.
Surely the memes are going to flow on this. Like it goes from the meme you described last week of the elephant, penguin, giraffe looking thing and what's going to be next. Just two of them or something, or a bigger one. I don't know. It seems like he's been kind of backed into a corner here, and it almost feels like he doesn't have the resources or the talent anymore around him to keep innovating. And we've talked about that, and we've talked about the strategies it seems like they're following, but maybe they should lean into the fact that they're not going to be on the cutting edge anymore, and they're just going to have a really good experience around using basic AI.
Could you imagine if ChatGPT turns out to be the MySpace of AI? And it's just like, you know that guy on MySpace, was it Tom, who just had his photo there? And he was like, you had to be friends with Tom. If Sam just slowly it dies, and then there's just Sam. It's just Sam at OpenAI. Yeah. You can like just direct message him because as the app peters away. But it is a worry, because I think what they're realizing is they've had the big head start. And we spoke about last week that the actual attack that Grok and Google are doing on him is they're pissing off me as, the power user spending all the money. They're just giving away everything, because what they're realizing is OpenAI's lead here is distribution. They've got 1 billion users, and then Grok and Google are just going, well, once we cut them out there, what's their advantage now?
Yeah. Yeah. It's almost like they were too successful at the start. They opened up Pandora's box. Everyone else realized what they were doing maybe wasn't that hard. And now the competition just got so heated around them by some of the biggest companies in the world. And it looks like they are going to get overtaken. Maybe in the MySpace sort of notion, Sam could be there with our man, Yann LeCun, who has posted, I think you put this in, but I'll sort of tear it up, that if you're interested in human level AI, don't work on LLMs. And what I found funniest about this was the top comment was actually a poll. I don't know if you saw this. It says, what will happen first? LLMs win Nobel Prizes, or Yann LeCun admits that he was wrong and LLMs win Nobel Prizes is winning that poll.
Yann LeCun, I don't know if I think we've started this. We are the biggest Yann LeCun discussers of all time. And if people who are watching us going, please stop talking about this guy. I don't even know who he is. He's so far on the outer. Imagine being in the Meta super AI, super intelligence team. You got Alex Wang and all these freaks, just cracks, just going, let's fucking do everything. And then Yann's feeling a bit on the outer, and he's obviously speaking at some, university or something. He's got the worst looking slide of all time. And he's gone with the Apple, hey, we're not doing well, let's just say the whole thing sucks. there's no future in LLMs. Abandon this, abandon that. But he's not really doing the wangy, like, super intelligence. He's just, I don't know. Poor Yann. Anyway, Yann, day 25 for Yann of the 35-day experiment. Maybe by the end of the show, if you could check the poly market, because we were at 19%, I think, last week, was it? So maybe by the end of the show, it'd be great to see. I tried to log on, but it had a bit of a freeze last week, which might have been our listeners getting on board. And it was sort of, the whole website was shutting down when I tried to bet. So, let's see if that's going up.
It was all the traffic that we sent to Polymarket from the B2S pod has crashed Polymarket.
We've crashed Polymarket because 19% was just too sweet, especially by the end of the year. I mean, that's free money. We don't do betting advice here, but if you're looking to just, I don't know, instead of going to the Crown and putting something on black or red, put it on that. Okay. All right. Time to straighten up. Let's get into the AI news for the week. Once again, there's a load just with the sheer velocity of how fast everything's moving at the moment. And DeepSeek updated a new model this week. Are they getting into the agent space, or what's new about this model? Because we know that the DeepSeek moment was almost going to go down in tech history. It dropped like trillions off the US share market when it came out. It had a different architecture. It was open source. It was cheap, and it was out of China.
Yeah, look, they are going more heavily into the agent space. I don't think that they've done anything super revolutionary. Like, they've got the think and non-think mode, like GPT-5 has. It's getting better at thinking, so you can get that like deep reasoning in a faster amount of time. Stronger agent skills. So it seems like a really good release because we hadn't heard from them for a while. But I think the biggest news is it's sort of been confirmed. This is a deep state operation fully funded by China. And what is this going to mean when you think of all of the public companies that China owns? Because typically how that happens is when you get to a certain scale in China, the CCP says, well done, we will now have more than half of that company. Thank you very much. And they control it. And so with all of these sort of state-backed companies in China, how is putting DeepSeek into the core of those companies going to give them an advantage over just sort of the approach that America would take, whereby you have an open market and you've got private companies doing all of this? So I don't have a heap of information on it, but I think that's probably the most interesting part, is about how involved the Chinese government likely is in the constant development of DeepSeek, and how much they're backing this to be their foundational model that is going to power a lot of the research and a lot of the productivity coming out of China.
Yeah, I think, look, the US have jumped on. They jumped into Intel, 10% of Intel this week. I think what's really clear, the US have been, screaming from the rooftops for 12 months that, our biggest competitor here is China. Elon came out during the week and said, it's going to be us and Google, and then eventually we're going to take Google. That's like between, I think he's talking about the XAI or Grok, conglomerate, in terms of AI. And then he said, and our biggest competitor is going to be China. So he's not worried about ChatGPT. He's not worried about, all the Microsoft, because he's just going to replace them. So that's really interesting. And then last week we spoke about the reason they introduced the Model YL in China is because he doesn't believe he has any competition in Europe or the States with Tesla. So he struck at the heart of, we've got a 6-seater autonomous car ready to go. Xiaomi and Huawei are, trying, but let's get in there, and build up some distribution locally. So it just speaks to this changing environment of governments getting involved in companies. And then they almost, because they're saying it's part of defense, national defense and things like that. But for the US to jump on board as well, it's very much, they obviously see something working in the Chinese space there. So, companies, we got TikTok's got China, I think Tencent with WeChat, I think that's got some government in it. And it's a model that they continue to repeat. Elon, speaking of, this week. He spoke about easy prediction of where things are heading is that devices are just edge nodes for AI inference, as bandwidth limitations prevent everything being done in the cloud. So for anyone that just sounds like dribble, can you explain what he's trying to get at there?
Sure. So how our devices currently work is they have an operating system that's like iOS or Windows. In the mobile ecosystem, you've got iOS and Android, and that runs on a phone, and you've got a computer chip in there. That's the operating system. Then you load it up with apps, and then through the internet, they can talk to each other. But a lot of the processing that happens doesn't actually happen on the computer. It happens in these servers in big data centers. And what Elon is saying is there's so much internet traffic that's flying around. Part of the reason that's happening is because we have to ask the servers a question and then we get a response back. Especially that's how a lot of AI is working. Now, we have talked about the concept of offline AI or AI on device. And Elon is essentially saying that if AI on a device is capable enough, you actually remove the need for an operating system, because the AI just becomes all the apps. Every time you need something, it's producing the screen that you need. It's producing the report or the image, all that's been generated on the fly by the AI. It can listen to your voice. It can take in inputs. And he's saying that eventually we won't even have operating systems. So Apple's gone, Microsoft's gone. And also, though, the compute on the device should be good enough such that it can just work it all out. And the only reason you'd have to send something over the internet would be when you actually want to communicate, not to go to the server to ask it a complex question, or maybe reserving that for when you do need something like a very large AI model to do some deep research for you. You send that off to the server. But again, it's just like another example of Elon thinking from first principles and saying, this is where I think the world is going based on what I know about physics, and therefore I'm going to point my company XAI in that direction.
I have my first ever opportunity to out visionary Elon in this space. at my Elysium, at my R&D project, soon to be mega power business Elysium, we're looking at going back to the future, the deviceless future, because in the past, homes were deviceless, but they were labor intensive. Think of the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. It was basically a full-time job to run a home. But then when you're all home, you were there as a family, engaged, present. Now we've got into this device-driven home that's ultra isolating, and you've got washing machines and dishwashers and all that kind of stuff, but they still need to be stacked by humans. And I think the future is in the deviceless home. I think families really want to reconnect. Mum and dad shouldn't be on the phone and the kids on the iPad. I think we should be getting back together. And part of what we're looking at is, how do you create a deviceless home? So you can go out and use your phone when you're going about your work, but how can you, maybe with a bit of Nvidia intelligence built into the walls of a home, how can you actually remove all the devices so your home is just a piece of architecture, it's autonomous, and as a family, you are not distracted by devices? So long play for us there. But anyway, Elon, maybe you need to think bigger. Which I'm not sure.
Maybe he should appear. Yeah, he should appear on Thanks for Watching next week. But I love it. And I think to quickly extend to that, Scotty, what you should be looking at, can you fix restaurants as well? There's nothing that pisses me off more than when you go to sit down at a pub or something, you just sit down with your friends and you should be just getting a beer from the bar and look each other in the eye, have a good time. And everyone has to open up their phone, scan a QR code and look at their phone for the first 10 minutes while they're ordering something. I think that needs to go. So if you could build some of this technology maybe into the bar tables as well, that'd be great.
Look, my average client's going to spend probably 10 to 15 million US on their home. So the $5 B2B space is probably not my sweet spot. but potentially once we've developed the tech, we can license it out to your favorite restaurants there in Austin.
Well, maybe the Chinese government can come in and DeepSeek your tech.
That's a good point. I think that's almost like a status. Once the Chinese copy you and sell it for 10% of the price, you've made it. You've got the attention. You've got the attention of the world's biggest country. Another one of your men, not my favorite. Once again, too lefty for me. Mark Cuban. We actually could have put him in thanks for watching this week, but we must have lowered the threshold for it. But he's mentioned that a real opportunity for the Gen Zers, which we might have said in like episode 5. So we might have said this 3 or 4 months ago, but there's an enormous opportunity right now because most big companies don't know what the hell is going on with AI. How do we implement? Where do we start? There's a study out of MIT in the last 2 weeks that's gone viral saying 95% of the spend in AI has not had a return on investment. And I mean, MIT are probably going to be interviewing Fortune 500 companies with, corporate CEOs. But what is Mark getting at here, and what is the opportunity we spoke about last week, having someone internally start look at automating workflows and things because they understand the business. What do you think here? How can we expand on this opportunity for young people?
Yeah, Mark's reflecting on his career and saying when the computer age came in, what he did was he knew how to use a computer. He went into big companies and it was a really hard sell because one, they didn't trust computers and they didn't know how it could help them. But once they realized the power of a computer, it was showing them how to use it and how to roll it out. So it's almost like the service layer that surrounds AI. And so you don't have to be on the cutting edge of building AI models to benefit from the gold rush, in this case, the AI rush. So I totally agree with him. I just think that there is so much opportunity in being able to go into either big corporations and show them how to roll out enterprise level AI, or what he's actually referencing is the millions and millions of sort of solo businesses or mum and dad businesses. They don't have an AI budget, but they know that they've heard about it and it should be helping them somehow. And how do I implement this? Just like someone would go and train you on, how you would roll out Microsoft Office in your business 10 or 20 years ago. I think it's a huge, huge opportunity. And again, he's referring to the opportunity for kids. And so we have discussed how hard it would be to be, finishing school at the moment. And like, do I go to university? What do I work on? Is a degree going to be worth anything? And realistically, I think the answer is probably not. And so, this is an area, the one area that you have, if you are finishing school, the advantage that you have is time. You can go and research these things and build workflows and agents and go and I promise you, if you're a 18-year-old listening to this, if you walked into any reasonable sized business and you showed them an agent that you have built of a basic workflow and how you're automating just, something in your life and said, I could do this for your business, every CEO of that company is going to be interested in what you have to say. And I think that is a reflection of how important it is to be focusing on something like this, going into such an unknown future.
Yeah. And especially, if you're a kid at home who loves gaming is much harder than building an agent on a platform like Lindy. Yep. It's a really easy user experience. You just need to start. You don't even need to know what tools. You just need to say to someone, what tools do you use, and show me your workflow. Okay, I'll go build it for you. So we're in that stage at the moment where the big companies haven't quite nailed it yet. So yeah, huge opportunity. And that's a really practical takeaway. Mate, I want to move on for what I believe has been the best month in Google's history. Now, this is a big call because Google's probably the best business that's ever existed. They've had the longest running monopoly. They've crystallized it. Their earnings are unbelievable. Their ecosystem of tools is unmatched. They have nearly 10 businesses valued over $100 billion. They're awesome. I think we've spoken about for 6 months now. Sergey's come back in, and it seems like he's grabbed the intelligence of Demis, who's the head of Google DeepMind, figured out what intelligence we have rolling around here. Now let's roll it through our whole ecosystem. This week, the big news is that they're launching the Google Pixel phone, I think, today. And one of my head of innovation here is he's converting from Apple. So that's a big move. He's converting from Apple to Google tomorrow. So you and I have spoken about what's the trigger? The trigger for him was, Apple Intelligence has been around for a year. It doesn't work. And it's just sick of, there's nothing really new in the iPhone, and he's jumping onto that. But they've not just released that. They've clearly taken the lead in image generation and video generation. They were offering VO3 users and Gemini users free videos, up to 6 free videos over the weekend. They're better and faster at video and image, and they're doing it for 10% of the cost of OpenAI.
Wild.
And the other thing is their share price, just one last one, their share price is up, I think 20% in the last 6 months, but it's only up 10% in the last 12 months. So once again, no financial advice on this show, but far out. This company is, if you look at some of the multiples out there, their multiple is reasonable, considering I think they're going to be like what Elon said, they're the biggest player.
Yeah, and that's not even looking at like some of the other businesses that they own, like YouTube and Waymo, which we'll talk about later, who's continues to crush it. So look, I think from this release, the only things that I would add there is certainly, from what I've seen, some what I would call vanity features, things that demo well or look good in a video that, would you actually use them? Maybe not, but there's definitely some that are really impactful. So one of the ones they call Magic Q, whereby it predicts what your response should be. Like someone messages you, and the example they use, where are we going for dinner tonight? It just looks at your calendar and it gives you a response of what you should say. So it's that itself doesn't sound that game changing, but it's the kind of thing you're going to use every single day. And it's going to change the way how you interact with your phone. There's a few things around like music generation and things like that. But one of the really big ones that we actually did talk about before we started recording was the instant voice translate. So they're saying, and I guess we'll see what the quality is like when your colleague gets their phone tomorrow or today, the instant voice translate to any language on the phone. So you could just pick up and call someone in China and have a conversation. You would speak in English, they would speak in Mandarin, and you would hear back in English, apparently. That is really, really cool. And I must say, I think that my bet that I made with myself 8 years ago to not learn Chinese and to focus on technology, because I could only fit so much in my brain. It was a long play, but we finally got there, and I am finally going to be able to put an AirPod in around the dinner table. And when there's some Mandarin flying around and there's a bit of being talked about me, I'm now going to know, and I'm going to be in the know. And I still need to figure out how to speak back in real time. I don't know if Google's figured that out for me, but it's good to see that technology has come as my savior here, and the long 8-year bet has finally paid off.
Yeah, I think 2 things are going to happen here. I can't wait for your and Jane's first fight in Mandarin. It might be about the first 5 minutes of this show. And the second one is when our old man talks about how your podcast is. In Mandarin. And you pick him up on it.
Yeah, well, he might get on and refer to you as my wanker mate, like your dad did to me.
Yeah, exactly. Your wanker mate on the pod. It's look, there's a couple of things here to wrap this up. Solving instant language translation, you would have thought would almost be up there with the invention of penicillin back in the day, because how many conflicts in the world could be having flight because we don't understand each other. So you can't empathize with someone that you can't understand, right? So I just think the fact that from a human level, this is unbelievable. Even if you're a 21 going on a Kentucky tour of Europe, just not having that waitress in Paris grease you off because you can't speak French. Like, that's going to elevate everyone's experience.
You're right. That is up there with the invention of penicillin, that experience alone.
And then, on the, just the thing, we've spoken about too much dating today, but on the dating scene, you're now accessing a global talent pool there on the dating scene. From a business point of view, the boundaries are now broken for doing business in foreign countries. You really need to start thinking global workforce, global supply chain. This really should unlock the vision of a lot of people and the career they want to take, knowing that the world's becoming a smaller place. So, and the fact that there's so much tech news and things going forward that it's just like buried at number 10 in the headlines here. But it's a really big thing. And then last one on Google, just to wrap up my my tech pick, my stock pick for the week. Here's some valuations. Search valued at 1.25 trillion US. DeepMind valued at 900 billion. Google Cloud valued at 570 billion US. YouTube 500 billion. Waymo, a leper, 173 billion. And is that Google Drive or Gmail that's valued at 140 billion? One of them. So, you know, there's what other company has that array of products worth that much money? So, congratulations to them.
It is wild.
Yeah. Next one, mate. The Zuck acquisition man having a swing at Midjourney to try and catch up on this image generation space. He's seen the lead that Google's taken. Midjourney is really interesting. I didn't actually understand the ownership or that it was its own private company. When it started, I actually thought it was like a part of ChatGPT. But in my space, aesthetic technology is probably the space that we're talking about here. Some of the most beautiful architectural renders are coming out of everyone's using Midjourney, who's into the AI and architecture space, which is pretty close to my heart. And, you know, I was prompting on the weekend, just having a play with it, just, plugging in some definitions of the kind of architecture that I enjoy. And it is becoming pretty outrageous what's been doing. I don't actually know what's under the hood of Midjourney, but Alexander Wang's on the front foot here, and he's basically saying this represents, our acknowledgement of we want to do everything because superintelligence is everything. So they've put in some Midjourney underneath their hood, I suppose.
Yeah. I tell you what's fascinating about Midjourney as well is their number of employees. So I haven't actually checked this in a while, but I'm pretty sure, have less than or close to 100 employees for a company that is literally cutting edge and has been changing the game in the image generation space for a very long time, and probably goes to what we talked about, having smaller, leaner, absolutely cracked teams just completely focused on the task at hand. So I just found that really fascinating that Midjourney is not some huge, I don't think they've raised huge amounts of VC money. They're not thousands of people, buying data centers to do this. They're just a really, really cracked team who have focused on the one thing and done it really well.
Yeah, I love that, going deep on one thing. It feels like it's an awesome play for an acquisition down the track as well. Once you're best in class, you're a pretty good looking target for the big boys. So yeah, really cool. I think another thing on that employees space, there was a really good post. We'll have to dig it up. I wasn't planning on talking about it, but there's a market cap per employee sheet at the moment that Nvidia's on top of. But then in the non-publicly listed, there's valuations per employee. And what I think it shows is that there's not a bubble, I don't think, in the public markets in AI. I think Nvidia's valuation, Google's valuation, Meta's valuation, they're all justified because these guys' quarterly earnings are tens and tens of billions of dollars profit. Where I think the bubble is in the pre-IPO stuff, all the private stuff, Perplexity's valuation, OpenAI's valuation, because OpenAI and Perplexity's valuation per employee is more than Nvidia's. Now, how is that possible? Because Nvidia, their profit per employee is like, I don't know, 20 million or 30 million or something. So I think there's a big divergence here at the moment between the public company valuations and the private company valuations. And I think the bubble is in the private.
Yep, I'd agree with that.
So, anyway, that was a bit off track, that one. One I wanted to have a look at, and it's a bit of a new topic for everyone. The word digital twin has been floating around in my space for a while because we build digital twins of buildings. So it's, there's a architectural model before you start, And then as we're building it, we adjust it to the built conditions. And then we do like a virtual reality as well, and try and build a digital twin of the home so that we can run scenarios. And then in the future, you'll start to be able to check how it's going to deteriorate, how the preventative maintenance should work. And, you know, you have a bunch of sensors in the buildings and just sort of run a digital twin of every building you construct. What's interesting now is that this avatar / digital twin is now becoming a thing. And the team at HeyGen, have really gone hard on this, and they're starting to make it really realistic so that basically you can copy yourself digitally online, start to produce content, courses, you know, whatever. It might be, you might not like standing in the front of the camera, but you're happy to type out a piece of content for your digital twin to say instead of you. And so what are your thoughts on this space? Like, are people going to be comfortable like watching something that they know is someone's avatar or digital twin, or is it a way to scale yourself? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think there's like two concepts here. There's the concept of, like you just mentioned, a pre-recorded video, a training video, or something that is static that you're putting on a website, and people might go, yeah, it's either AI generated or it's either not. And then you've got this concept of a digital twin actually acting on your behalf, more like an agent does. So I do wonder if anyone's going to move into the space of what HeyGen is doing, where they have learned based on videos of you and how you speak and voice recordings. And then they're able to produce like a static video that just is there that someone can watch. Or are people going to start connecting this into, like I talked with Notion AI, that connects into all of your tools? Is an AI going to learn how you actually act based on your messages and your emails and your interactions and your notes, your video calls? And is it going to try and actually put you into real life scenarios on a call? So are employees going to do a one-on-one with an AI version of someone? Like that to me is a little bit scary, and where it sort of goes beyond the line of what I'd be comfortable with. But as far as videos go, like an intro video to a product launch or something, I think that's going to happen with AI more and more, and it is going to be indistinguishable. And so it goes one of two ways. It either goes like people don't like that, and there's going to be actually recorded videos, and there's going to be proof systems to show that this was not AI generated, and you're going to have to somehow prove that, and people are going to lean into that. Or it's just going to become that out online, everything becomes AI generated. You don't have to go and record videos anymore. And it's probably more the latter.
Yeah. So my take on it is I don't like and refuse to watch pre-prepared digital twin or avatar content. So I've followed some guys like that build agents on N8N and stuff, and now I can see that they've tried to automate that and they've just got their digital twin doing it, and I'm out. So I think if you're doing like a boilerplate digital twin thing, I think no one's going to really want to absorb that as content unless you force them to because they work for you or something. What I'm willing to go to digital twin on is, say, instead of having a Substack, what if all of our heroes, what if Jensen, Elon, Brett Adcock, or whoever anyone else wants to follow, it might be your favorite sporting star, what if they were able to upload their whole personality and all of the, their way they communicate and every bit of content they've ever done, train a model in a digital twin, and you could subscribe for $5 to $10 a month, and you can ask Elon any question and get in a conversation. And obviously someone like Elon could have a team checking that that's what he would answer, and that he could do a yes. You could have feedback loops on both sides. The person wasn't really happy with the answer, and also, Elon's team wasn't happy with the answer that it provided. But what's stopping you scaling yourself on that subscription model? Because that's completely customized. It's basically me saying, I'm willing to pay a fee because I want to have advice from Elon on my board.
Yeah. And there's definitely demand for that. And we see that through products like where you can go and get a video from sports stars, for example. I don't know if you know the name of the platform. There's a popular one out there. But there's demand for people to be able to interact with their heroes or with the people that they look up to. And AI is definitely an unlock for that. So I totally agree. There's a market for that. And again, another thing that you should probably build, Scotty.
We'll put that one on that someone else can build. But I may use, even from my point of view, like if someone, I every now and again I get emails and questions from people, whether by LinkedIn or somewhere, and I think, like you got to respond to this and try and be like thing. But I just think if you had something that you could say, well, there's enough data, like you and I are creating a fair amount of video data now online. So in theory, someone could just scrape that, say, well, these guys have now spoke online for 30, 40 hours. We've got enough data there to say how they would have responded to your query, and you and I should be able to check the answers and give it some fine tuning. So, or reinforced learning. So anyway, very much watch this space, the digital twin avatar space. One of the big players this week have entered what we might call the browser wars, the operator wars, the agent space, Anthropic, Claude. They've developed Claude for Chrome. Claude works directly in your browser and takes actions on your behalf. What does this mean? I'm not a huge Claude user, but this makes sense to me. Do you know what I do love? They've offered it to their highest paying users. One for the big guy. One for the power user. Finally, there's a benefit. Apart from that, what else is there?
What it means though is you're not a power user of Claude, so you might actually have to become one, and then you're going to have a chat with your CFO again about all these subscriptions that you've got. Yeah, so this is to essentially compete in like the ChatGPT operator space, the Gemini Live space. They're not, I wouldn't say that Claude is doing anything like overly innovative, and that's a tough call because it is very innovative. It's just the bar for innovation has gone up so high. I think they're operating in the same space, and they're basically saying, how can we get our model, our product that runs the model in a chat interface, how can we get that looking at your browser so that we can, help you make decisions and do browsing for you and create insights. And it definitely does show that the browser is still considered, I guess, the window to information and connection. While we don't need to go and do a Google search, we still have all this software that runs in browsers and we interact online, and we've got all of our B2B SaaS tools still sit in the browser. So I don't think that's going anywhere, at least until Elon apparently crashes it with his AI edge node computing. And all of the big players are saying, we want a piece of that. We want to be able to see what you're doing in there and help you out. And hopefully Claude's a little better than Operator. I didn't rate Operator. I've used Gemini's. It's actually pretty good. I don't know if it's technically Gemini, but it's Google's version, which you use via AI Studio. And you can literally just like chat with the AI while it's looking at your screen. So I can see you looking at doing some research on your holiday. Like, have you considered doing this? Now, the big question is, can it actually take control and do things for you? And what Claude is saying is, yes, it can. I don't know if AI Studio can do that yet. Operator could. So look, I don't think there's heaps of innovation here, but definitely watch this space because I have been very impressed with the products that Anthropic has released, whereby Claude is one of them.
Yeah. So, but the LLMs, and this is where Yann saying, LLMs are dumb. What all these LLM companies are doing, they're just taking the next step. They know that the browser and computer use is the next step for them. So it's just a weird thing for him to say they're stupid and don't use them. But they're all recognizing the browser is the next step. We need to be operating the browser to be agentic and start accessing your credit card and providing more value. So just seems like the natural next step. Claude's now taken their step into it. Okay. The biggest navel-gazing segment potentially in podcast history is Thanks for Watching. It's our favorite. It's a little bit of time for us to take a little bit of piss, but we do acknowledge when the real heavy hitters do watch the show and act accordingly. Last week, we got into just a couple of small players in Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft, after he watched our release of the Google release of Google adding AI to their sheets. He watched that, went back to the team at Microsoft who are about to be deleted by macro hard from Elon and said, hey, if we're going to survive, we need to add AI to Excel. And he did that. So congratulations and thanks for watching for him. We said that last week. And then this week we have 3 enormous hitters. These are real sluggers here, in baseball term. Number one of our favorites, Airbnb founder, Brian Chesky. And he said, in the age of AI, it's all about innovation, and the only companies that are going to win are going to be founder-led companies. What are your thoughts on the thanks for watching there for Brian after we had a pretty deep dive on this last week?
Yeah, look, Brian got pretty famous for this term founder mode that came out a few months ago, which is basically saying companies should be run more in like just directly under the founder, less red tape, less bureaucracy within a company, and more just alignment on vision. And I think this is essentially saying that AI only accelerates the need to operate in that kind of way. And look, I think as founders here, I think we both would agree that being able to have Toby Lukey from Shopify calls it having less distance between leadership and the front line, and really just flattening out the structure and having everyone moving towards the same direction. I think by watching how fast a lot of these AI companies are moving, it's going to be really hard to win not operating in that way. Now, does that mean that you need to be a micromanager across all parts of the business? No, it doesn't. Like, that's impossible, and you wouldn't want to do that anyway. You still need to have amazing people who are going to make decisions and do things and feel empowered to do so, but shouldn't get blocked by red tape and shouldn't be trying to take the company in different directions either. It's like, this is where we're going. This is how we're going to do it. And then we've got all of the right lieutenants into play. So to the point we mentioned at the top of the show around having leaner teams, and the revenue per employee and that kind of thing, a saying that I really like is building a team of Navy SEALs rather than the Army. You don't want to build the Army, you want to have Navy SEALs. And I think operating in founder mode is kind of a way of saying that, essentially.
Yeah, and like Jensen, let those teams report direct to you. So, Jensen's got 40 direct reports. They're all head of departments. A Harvard business school MBA tells you to not have anyone report direct to you and put all these executives in place. What's interesting he takes it to another level. I think Brian's actually got some sort of corporate governance trauma. I reckon he might have not the best something in his shareholding agreement or contract, because it feels like he's always defending himself against the corporate CEO coming in. He's actually gone even one step further, and he goes, founders get their hands dirty. He goes, if you're in the bathroom and there's a paper towel, a founder will pick it up and put it in the trash. A CEO or manager will be like, hey, there's a paper towel down there. That sounds like schoolyard type. Monologue from Brian there.
He's got some sort of chip on his shoulder or some sort of trauma that he's dealing with.
And we don't want to dwell on this, but Peter
I think what's important...
Yeah, sorry, go on.
Yeah, just quickly to touch on this, I think what's important to mention as well, just on the founder mode, obviously we've got a lot of people listening, well, some people listening that are not running businesses. I don't think us talking about founder mode is just directed at founders of companies. What it is, it's a way of operating. It is thinking like you own the business, and it's thinking and acting in a way whereby you have really high agency and you're doing the things that matter and you're doing good work, not busy work. All of the things we talk about, I think, actually do get encompassed into this kind of concept of founder mode. It just so happens that is much more enabled when you do have a founder at the helm that is really pushing things in the right direction, because you still need that level of vision and strategy and alignment. So I just want to call that out, that we're not always just talking about, hey, this is only relevant advice if you're in your own company. You can act like this, and you can you have a very high level of agency in all sorts of roles, employee, volunteer, whatever it might be.
Yeah, I mean, what it is, and it's a great segue, because Peter Thiel jumped on board and basically said, if you need any innovation, founders need to stay in control. But what he's talking about is that as companies grow, they become these bureaucratic nightmares. And what AI, I think, is solving for right now, AI is solving for the bureaucracy layer. And previously, you've got all these bureaucratic people within a business that don't add value, that they're an administrative layer on top. It's like, in Victoria, we've got, I think, the highest amount of administrators per doctors and nurses in our hospitals. So what we would call bloat. And I think the first thing AI is coming for is bloat. So as an employee, being part of that crack Navy SEAL team that delivers with agency and accountability, you don't need any bloat anymore. We'll get AI to solve for the bureaucracy. AI is a great coordinator and an administrative actor. So I just think it's full down the stream from CEO to cleaner. Act with some agency, and you're going to have a great career. So we can jump off that topic now. But alas, thanks for watching. And I never thought we would bring in the godfather of investing himself, Warren Buffett, a listener. He's retired. I think he's retired. I think he sold out their positions and got them 250 billion US in cash on hand. Probably the world's most famous and successful investor of all time. He's listened in last week, said that you've said that college degrees carry no weight anymore. And he said college degrees don't matter.
Thanks for watching, Mr. Buffett. We didn't know that you were into your podcast, especially your AI and robotics podcast, but it is good to see that you've been listening in.
Well, he's got to stay on top of it. He's the world's best investor. He needs no, he does not want to be left behind. Warren Buffett.
He cannot get left behind.
How do I keep up with all this AI news? So thanks, Warren. Next segment, another favorite. We are just stacked this week and we're trying to finish on time, but, tool of the week. And I wanted to, or maybe you wanted to, we wanted to start, opening up the dialogue with the B2S community. And I think we get sporadic bits of feedback about the show. We had a couple this week saying, it's my go-to listen every Wednesday morning, which for that listener, I'm a bit worried because, it's a week after we record. So you might have missed some news by that point. But tool of the week, I think one of the great things will be if we can start getting some feedback on what tools, once we go through them, people are using, what their use cases are. So who's the first one off the boat that we've had some feedback on this week? Yeah,
well, Kane, thanks for listening in the drive to side, has actually recommended that he might drop some of his own tools of the week. So we absolutely want to take you up on that. We'd love to see in the comment section any tools of the week that you have been working on, and the tools cannot be Scotty. The second one is from Nick, who has said, and I'll read a little bit of it from the comment. He says, mate, Notebook LM is a serious game changer. I've been working mornings, closing my deal.
Just cut that bit.
We've got a producer. We can cut it. And I've had to miss some lectures. I put the lecture slides into Notebook and used the podcast feature. It's insane. So great to hear that Nicholas is using Notebook LM. And then from Lockie, I need to respond to this message. Sorry, Lockie, but he's pretty obsessed with building up workflows and automations, comes from a construction background. And it's wild, some of the things that you can do. So Lockie, really want to hear some examples of those workflows you've been building out. He says he feels very validated hearing us speak about this exact topic. It's good to hear that some of our tool of the week is resonating with the audience, and hopefully we'll get some concrete examples of how people are using AI, either based on suggestions that we've shared, or hopefully we'll learn some new things from how our listeners are using AI.
Yeah, so Nick, Lockie and Kane, thanks for reaching out. And we would love to hear from people any tools, any of Matt's hacks that they've got, any use cases, get some feedback and we'll give you a shout out in Tool of the Week. And get in. And thanks Nick for the adding to the colourful language. Look, if we can't judge the audience if you and I are in the same space there. Mate, new segment this week. New segment, and I think it's going to stick. The age of agents. What is new in agents this week? Producer come up with a nice little stinger there for it as well. And also, I think most weeks I try and say, what is the best use of an hour? I mean, there's so many options. After you're done with your 90 minutes with the B2S, what are your options with the remaining time of your tech listening through the week? This week for me, it's Aaron Levie. We spoke about him a few weeks ago. He's the CEO of Box, which is, a file management and unstructured to structured data management system that then sort of optimizes for the use of AI and agents. He's been on the A16Z podcast this week, going deep on agents, and come up with what is this next step for agents. So what we've seen is that there's a few quotes. I'm going to just land some quotes out there, and then I want you to give me your opinion on these quotes. 1, every workflow is a vertical AI company being ready to be built? 2, when is the moment when we can form how agents are best used as in contrast to getting agents to follow your workflow? So when do we start adjusting the workflows to how best to use the agent? Or are we in the stage still where we have to build the agent to match our exact workflow? So they're probably the 2 big ones for me.
Look, on the first one, so every workflow is a vertical AI company waiting to be built. Let's unpack that. And this actually was reposted by A16Z in response to something that Jared Friedman of YC, who we actually interviewed with, so shout out to Jared, he wrote, and he said, if you're building an AI agent to automate some job, the hardcore move is to just go and get that job and do it for a while. And so what I think is a really interesting piece of work here is setting up a consultancy, or what the big consultancies should be doing because they're going to become redundant soon. They've already got the clients. They should be going in and watching exactly what their clients are doing, learning, and then building agents to do that for them, because that is essentially creating a vertical AI company. A lot of software as a service companies actually got started because they started out as a consultant trying to solve a problem, or they were trying to solve their own problem for their own business, and then they turned that into software. They productized it. And that is what is happening to services now, or white collar jobs. They're getting productized by AI. So I think that the advice is really good. If you don't know what to build, go and get a job in a really backward space. Look at all the painful things that have to be done in that job and go build vertical workflows to service that sector. So I agree with point number 1. And I guess it does lead nicely onto point number 2, which is how much of a workflow should we just reproduce using AI versus optimizing or saying what were requirements that existed because we had human limitations that can now be lifted? What are the dumb requirements that aren't necessarily, or how do we change how this is happening because we've got agents now? And again, maybe something like the browser is an example of, rather than getting 2 agents to talk to each other through a chat somewhere online, the agents should just be able to work out how to converse with each other in a much more efficient way, not having to go through a browser. So how do the workflows that we have day to day, and that's just quite a trivial example, but in a B2B sense, what are the things that we're actually doing, like physically out in the real world, that can change because of AI agents? And I don't have a heap to add on that, but I think it's a really good question to be asking if someone is building these vertical AI workflows.
Yeah. So once again, just to tie off Aaron Levie on the A16Z podcast, if you want to know more about agents, that is a great hour because Matt and I don't have time to sort of go deeper on that. What I want to talk about there, when you spoke about embedding someone into that actual role, Palantir did this really well. It's called forward deployment engineering. I don't know if you've heard it before, but it's basically because they've got enormous government contracts and enormous S&P 500 contracts. They basically say, hey, let us in because it's a huge potential contract value. Let us embed ourselves. Like, let's drop 3 software engineers off at your office and start solving your problems. And then that's how we start building out a customized piece of software for you. And that's sort of potentially what they're talking about here with getting into a workflow and, you know, getting inside a business, solving their problems. But we look at that compared to what we've just been speaking to before about vibe coding instant software internally and also building your own agents internally. So as a business, I think you're going to see this, you know, this battle between, hold on, why don't we just get someone in that our employees that know our workflows, give them the tools to start automating those workflows and building agents or vibe coding a bit of instant software, versus going out to a consultant or a big tech player and letting them into your system and them creating your piece of software. So that's an interesting little battle there.
For sure. And we talked about the hiring of like an AI operations lead as well that's happening in both of our businesses. And I think that role is going to get more and more popular.
Yes. All right. We're running out of time. Robot rundown. Let's get into it. Where the rubber meets the road in technology. And literally, because every week now, we're diving a little bit further into the Waymo versus Tesla autonomous vehicle space. This is a proper battle now, isn't it? And the one place that they seem that where they have diverged and we've spoke about is in LIDAR. Usually people don't try and pick fights with Elon though, but this week the Uber CEOs jumped in and Waymo have been pretty noisy about, well, what have robotaxis actually done? So what's the update here? How's this heating up?
You're exactly right. The divergence in strategy from Uber, not Uber, that's who was commenting on, from Waymo and who Uber partners with, and Tesla, is Elon has always said we didn't actually need to use LiDAR to get full self-driving. We can just use the cameras, and have been banking on that AI is going to get better at reading real-time video feeds and can make decisions on that, with the logic being if a human can see things with their eyes only, why do we need LiDAR in the car? Now, the argument from the Uber CEO when talking about Waymo and their strategy is the bar for technology is higher than humans, because humans exist and we have this, I guess, this moral compass, and we are allowed to sort of make mistakes if we didn't mean to. And so if you accidentally kill someone on the road, you might end up in jail for a bit, but people are going to keep driving, right? Like we're not going to ban all cars because one person crashed into someone. Whereas with technology, if Waymo started crashing into people, the bar is a lot higher. They would get banned very quickly if they started doing that. So the Uber CEO's point, who I actually have a lot of respect for, I think he's a really good CEO. He's basically saying that you have to have superhuman levels of safety if you're going to do autonomous AI. And what Tesla is only going to be able to achieve, at least now, is like a similar level of what a human's got, because it's only got the same inputs. Now, what I thought was really interesting here was Elon's response to it. His response was, we actually are making them safer by only using cameras because we're not getting differing signals from the LiDAR and the cameras, and then that actually creates signal confusion and it's less safe. Now, this to me, and you never want to call BS on Elon, but it goes against what I thought that he had made the decision on, which was we don't need it, therefore we cut it out to make our cars more economical to be bought, and we can get to full self-driving with a normal Tesla without having to put these big, expensive and ugly-looking LiDAR units on it. I think that if that is the strategy, in which I think that is the strategy, he should be leaning into that by saying that his cars are going to be safer by not using LiDAR. Like, at least to the average Joe here, I just can't see how that is possible. And there are people like refuting his logic. So it does seem like an interesting take by not going down the path of explaining why they don't use LiDAR, but leaning into the fact that auto-driving Teslas and robotaxis are going to be safer by only using cameras, and that using LiDAR is an actual detractor to safety. Very interesting take. And yeah, I actually would have to take the Uber and Waymo side here. Oh. I think that you can create a much safer car with, yeah, I know, with LiDAR. It doesn't look as good, and maybe it's not as good for the business model, but on the safety side, I've tried both. In a Waymo, it doesn't make mistakes. My Tesla auto driving tried to turn, in front of cars the other day when it wasn't meant to. So
I think this is a repercussion from the Patriot. Elon's gone to China with the Model YL and he's fucking pissed you off. So yep, this is a cranky American who's going to get back at Elon. No, look, my take on this, and I'll be really quick. I think episode 9 or 10, 3 months ago, I predicted the Waymo Uber merger. I don't know who's bigger in market cap and who's going to buy who, but I think they're really realizing that they need both of them to compete with Tesla, because the price point at Tesla is just so cheap, compared to these things. So, I think they're going to compete in almost the no car ownership space, and Elon's going for the car ownership space. So I think they're going to merge it. That's why they're praying friends. Elon has said that he's removed LiDAR and radar because he believes the safety critical point is when they disagree with the camera recognition. So he's parked it and gone all in on cameras, and then they've forwarded that on to their Tesla Optimus as well. So their training now for Optimus is purely based on camera detection, and that's how they're training Optimus to do, all of its tasks. So I think for him, he sort of likes, his saying is delete before optimizing. And he's just decided LIDAR's deleted, so then he can optimize for computer vision. And I'm going to take the other side of it and keep following the initial rule, because I'm not a cranky person from Texas who wants the YL, and go with, I think he's onto a winner there. Even though LIDAR's down to $500 a car now. So if he was doing it on cost, he was wrong. I still agree with delete before optimize. Okay. Next one on robotics. We should have had this in the funnies up the front because we're not going to go deep on it, but Carbon Robotics started with a question: what is the biggest challenge in farming? And they said that weeds are the biggest challenge. What's the solution? Autonomous lasers. And so now we've got this huge farming rig that's got autonomous laser beams. It sounds like something out of Austin Powers, just firing lasers at weeds. And my first thought was, what could possibly go wrong? Autonomous lasers.
Yeah. You'd have to be a poor, imagine being a poor bush animal out there, just sees this thing coming along. Just
the little mouse
fries you.
The little mouse in the corner.
Your little mouse just incinerated.
So I thought that was just a bit funny. We won't go any deeper on that, but autonomous laser beams in farming just sounded like a funny one to me. But to finish off the robot rundown this week, because we want to save a few minutes for our top 5 most influential people in AI that we promised last week, and we're going to wrap with that. But Nvidia, we spoke about him signing the GPU over to the good people at Figure AI last week in the the king meets the prince moment. But this week he's officially released Nvidia's new robot brain. It's going to be $3,500. It's the Jetson AGX Thor developer kit. And then, so what they're doing, I mean, these guys are the substrate for all of AI. And naturally, Jetson's been talking about robotics for 18 months. They're now the brain of potentially a huge portion of the world's robots moving forward. What a legend.
Yeah. It's he's competing with them and he's powering them at the same time. It's wild.
And I don't think anyone's matched this. Everyone's gone with this apart from us, but it is the Trojan horse. Because once Nvidia is the brain of your robot, they're going to do their own robots. So just be careful to all the customers out there. But at the same time, you can use a brain and have a dumber robot, or you can let the Trojan horse into the city of Troy and just enjoy it while it lasts.
It's like, it's like enjoying a bit too much of the good stuff, early on, and optimizing for the short term.
Well, hopefully they can get some big valleys and then cash out before Nvidia go vertical. All right, we have rushed through this episode, but we are going to finish. Top 5 most influential people in AI. Where should we start? Should we start we go 1 for 1, like draft picks?
Yeah, let's do that.
And go from there? Well, I mean...
Yep, let's do it.
This is not bearing the headline. I think everyone knows where I'm going. I think everyone knows where I'm going with number 1. It is the godfather of AI and robotics. He's leaving no stone unturned. The Trojan horse himself, Jensen Huang, for me, at number 1.
Lovely. Well... I'm going to, and this isn't out of spite for your comments before, but I have put Elon into number 1, just because of the breadth of things he's doing. So he's actually taken out the spot for me.
Okay. All right. Well then, so we've got the Quinella then together, which might be almost boring content here, but I've got Elon at 2. I'm surprised you've gone with that after you're a little bit cranky at him. And I thought you were going to go for like the CEO of Waymo or something with the LIDAR genius, at number 1.
Yeah,
but
don't worry. I've got someone in there that you're going to like.
I've got Elon at 2. Who have you got at 2?
And you're right, this is boring content because I put Jensen in there, but at least it shows we're aligned. So Elon and Jensen have taken out the top 2 spots for both of our lineups.
Okay, I think if anyone's waiting for some real headlines here, they're probably going to come at the end from what I can see here. Number 3, I've gone with a little quiet achiever. There's only 2 Europeans in technology that are worth listening to. And one of them's this guy, Demis from DeepMind. He, working in DeepMind and AlphaGo for the last 10 years. He's really been on the frontier. And now I think pairing with Sergey, he's becoming the product king. So I think the way that Google are leveraging DeepMind's R&D department into actual products and the velocity, I think Google's going to be one of the top 3 companies in the world for the next 10 years, and he's the backbone of that.
Love it. That's a good pick. Mine's on a pretty traditional pick. I've still put Sam in there from OpenAI while we have talked a lot about him. I do think that, he pioneered a lot of this movement, and I wouldn't be ruling them out. So I know we talked a bit of about Sam earlier this episode, but I've got him in at number 3.
Yeah, interesting. I've got another take on Sam. I've got him. I've got Sam and his mate Tom from MySpace at number 4. I think I'm not sure if MySpace is fully bankrupt yet, or it's still like teetering as a sleeper company. But I see the Sam buying MySpace with his personal funds, and him and Tom getting together as the guys that could have been.
Well, MySpace was sold for 570 million. So, yes, I think Sam could easily buy that.
So 4 for me is Sam and Tom from MySpace.
You got Sam and Tom. Nice. I had at number 4 on my side, someone we haven't spoken about is Andrew Ng. And he is a guy that has done a lot of AI research. He's taught a lot of AI courses. And I think he was a big voice in AI pre-AI getting popular. And I just think that he still has a lot of influence over where things are going, and the things that he says have typically turned out to be true. So maybe we need to surface a bit more of his content, but I put him in at number 4.
Okay. And number 5, I'm going with a bit of controversy here. I've got Alexander Wang. Now, I think that the old bull is going to the young bull is going to oust the young bull out of the paddock. So I was thinking Zuck, but I think the true top 5 most influential people, I reckon Alexander Wang is already the chief scientist in it. I reckon he's making all the calls already. I reckon Zuck is taking a back seat. He's going to be Jeff Bezos on a yacht. He's checked out, and Wang's taken over. And I think he's going to be the 5th most influential man in AI.
Wow. So Meta, no more founder mode. Interesting call. Look, finally, to round us out, I think this is an obvious one, Scotty, and I'm a bit surprised you missed it from yours, but influential people in AI, always taking contrarian takes. He's got some poly markets out there that we've got some bets on. My man, Yann LeCun. Oh, he is at number 5.
Oh, no. Yann LeCun. I think he's the most influential man in AI, because whatever he said, he's like that, that stock picker that everyone bets the opposite online. Like whenever he says, I'm feeling really bullish about this, and everyone bets the other way. I think Yann LeCun's biggest, most influential thing is whatever he says, do the opposite.
Hey, it's still influence.
He's a market mover.
No such
market
thing as
creator.
Bad press. He's a market mover. Yeah, exactly. We should have done it the other way. We should have, Yann should have been at the top, and we should have announced him last.
Well,
so
Sorry,
we're going to watch this segment evolve over time, aren't we? So we're going to keep seeing who makes it in and do a draft pick each week.
Well, so it's almost a love trifecta here. We've got the Zuck, Alexander Wang, and Yann. That's the triangle that we're watching inside at Meta, all still currently employed. I think Alexander Wang's going to end up on top. For anyone that made it through that long episode and found their way through it, hopefully there's some Yann believers out there who have finally heard some positive news about him. So anyway. That mate.
Well, great app, Scotty. As we said, we need to run.
Okay, mate, get into that next meeting. Hopefully your to-do list is shortened.
It never is. Good to chat, mate.